Alright, welcome on in everyone to this episode of First CSP, the channel dedicated to bringing you the first council shoulder patch issued from each council in Scouting America, both past and present. Today we're going to take a look at Calumet 152 out of Indiana. This council was originally formed in 1965 as the merger of Pokagon Trails and the Sauk Trails councils, and then lasted up until 2015 when it merged with Chicago area, Des Plaines Valley, and Northwest Suburban to form Pathway to Adventure. Got a couple of patches to take a look at today, and I will say up front, today's episode is going to pair with tomorrow's episode that has a similar issue. So after you've watched today's episode, drop in the comments what you think might be tomorrow's episode. It is related in some way. Alright, on the patch table we do have the T1A first issue. This is still divided into two variants in the most current collecting guides as well. With its black border, bright red background, and white letters, it is the bright red background that is the definitive characteristic for a T1A. You can see the Calumet Council, Indiana, and Illinois there in white letters. And I would have to assume that this is imagery of a foundry. I don't know if steel is particularly large in the area or it's some other metallurgy. If you know, by all means, let me know in the comments. But it definitely seems to be something similar to like a steel mill depicted there. The back on the T1A is a gauze cloth back. And then the second variation on the T1B is going to have a dark red background. You can see the contrast in color there between the bright red T1A and the dark red T1B. Other than that, very similar additions. Also on the T1B happens to be a gauze cloth back. We have another issue of the T1B as well that is a slightly different shade of red. This one's a little bit lighter than the one that we show at the bottom, but again, in contrast to the T1A, it still is a darker shade. So the T1A is considerably brighter, and then we have a couple of production runs of the T1B that definitely look darker, and hence they end up coming out as T1Bs. This also has a gauze cloth back. To my knowledge, I have not seen T1A or Bs that were ever made with plastic backs, so I think these are all going to be gauze cloth backs. Now the second patch produced the T2. I would assume, although I don't know for a fact, that they were attempting to just do another reorder of what had essentially then been their T2Bs. You can see that these are two production runs, and they are different from the twills that were used. So they ordered another one, but what came back was an error and had a red border. And I think that just wasn't intended. I think they were just trying to get more restock of these patches, but it ultimately came back with a red. I have seen images of those T2s with the red borders. They're certainly not going to be confused with T1s because of that bright red border, but I don't happen to have one to show you here today. And then the next patch produced, I'm very excited about because we did get one in. This is what I've been waiting to get so we could shoot this video, and that is the T3. So what it seems, again, I'm assuming, but they got that order in of T2s with red borders. They wanted to have regular issues to be able to give to their scouts and scouters to wear, and so they sent some to be rebordered, I'm guessing. The T3 is a black over red, dark red background with white letters. And we have that for you today. Here is a T3. So the T3 could be confused with T1s because it does appear to have a black border and a red background. The colors here certainly match up. I'm going to put a T1B here at the top. They match up with the T1Bs. So you're not going to think it's a T1A. It's just not that bright on the T3. The differentiation is you're going to see this massively thick border. Now, I've seen images of two other T3s that exist in the world. There's about 100 or over 100 of these T3s that are reported in the most recent guide. So it's not like they're super rare, but I've only seen images of a couple, and this is the only one I've seen in person. Most of the time, the stitching, the over border stitching is completely clean. Now, I feel very fortunate because ours, right here, and there's also a little patch right here where you can actually see the stitching kind of slipped up and you can see the red border underneath. So I thought that was really cool and great as an exemplar for all of you so that we can differentiate the T3s from the T1s. Again, overall what you're going to see is this just massive black border because when you put a border over a border, it's going to get thicker. So I don't think too many people, if they were intentionally looking for a T1, A or B, are going to confuse a T3 for it. But if you don't know what you're looking for, you may not recognize that this super thick border is actually a T3 and not a T1. I think actually the individual I picked this up from just thought it was another T1, but this is actually a T3. Also with the gauze cloth back, so it does seem that all the early issues for Calumet were gauze cloth backs. I'm going to take off this T1B and we'll do our final parting shot, just comparing the colors here of a T3, which has the dark red background and the super thick border, and the T1A, which is the bright red. It does almost come across as like an orange red, that much brighter than the other issues. So that's the first issues for Calumet 152 out of Indiana. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode. Do any of you out there, can you imagine what might be tomorrow's first CSP episode that is somehow related to today's episode for Calumet? It's going to be similar in a variety of ways. Maybe one or two of you knows the histories out there and can think of what it might be. With that, I want to thank you all for stopping in today, making us a small part of your day. Remember, you can watch all of our previous First CSP episodes at your convenience 24/7 on the channel. We'll be back again tomorrow to complete this double header of sorts. But until then, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.